If I had known the truth from the beginning, I would have let her fall. The words hung in the air of my empty kitchen as I stared at the flash drive in my hand, evidence of the most elaborate deception I'd ever witnessed. Not from a patient, but from my own mother. My name is Allison Carter. I'm 52 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've been a full-time caregiver to my mother, Eleanor Carter, a 78-year-old retired high school English teacher who supposedly can't walk, can't bathe herself, can't even make it to the bathroom without assistance. Or so she led everyone to believe. Tomorrow is her birthday celebration. My sisters are flying in. A slideshow is prepared, but not the one they're expecting. After 5 years of carrying the weight of another person's life while putting mine on hold, I've discovered the truth, and I can't bear the weight of it any longer. 5 days earlier, the inconsistencies began with medication. As a nurse for over 20 years, 15 of those in palliative care, I could recognize patterns that others might miss. Mother's pain medication was disappearing at an irregular rate, too slow some weeks, too fast others. It didn't match her reported pain levels. Eleanor, I called from the medication cabinet, using her first name as I always did when something felt off. It was a habit from my nursing days, creating professional distance when needed. Your tramadol count is off again. Is it? Her voice floated from the living room. Practice fragility in every syllable. I must have dropped some. You know how my hands shake. I walked into the living room, pill organizer in hand. She was propped up in a recliner, blankets arranged artfully around her legs, television remote within reach, and a novel open on her lap. Her hair was perfectly styled, something she claimed she couldn't do herself anymore. Your hands weren't shaking when you adjusted your hair this morning, I said, keeping my voice neutral, clinical. She looked up, those blue eyes wide with practiced innocence. Samantha came by while you were getting groceries. She helped me. Samantha, my older sister, hadn't been to the house in 3 months. She lived 4 hours away and ran a successful marketing firm. She sent money regularly and called weekly, but visits were rare. I nodded, swallowing the contradiction. I see. Flashback 3 years ago, I remember the day I decided to move in with Mother. Rebecca, my other sister, had called in a panic. She fell again, Allie. The doctor says she can't live alone anymore. I was sitting in the hospital break room, halfway through a 12-hour shift in the oncology ward. I just finished helping a 45-year-old woman say goodbye to her children. What about assisted living? I asked, knowing the answer before Rebecca gave it. She refuses. Says she'll die first. Rebecca's voice lowered. And you know how she gets when she's cornered. I did know. Mother had always been dramatic, fiercely independent until she needed something, and then suddenly helpless. After Dad died 10 years ago, those tendencies amplified. What about you or Samantha? I asked, though I knew the answer to this too. Sam's in the middle of her company expansion, and I've got the kids' college applications and Tom's mother moving in with us. She trailed off, the guilt evident even through the phone. You're the nurse, Allie. You know what to do for her. And she hesitated. Single? Divorced? Childless? Which one makes me the obvious choice, Becca? The bitterness surprised even me. I was going to say the strongest of us, she said quietly. 2 weeks later, I took a leave of absence from the hospital. That leave became a resignation when it became clear Mother would require long-term care. At 47, I packed up my apartment and moved back into my childhood home, converting the dining room into my bedroom to be closer to her. I told myself it would be temporary. Just until she regained strength. Just until we found a better solution. 5 years later, I was still there. Present day, the first concrete evidence came in the form of a receipt that fell from her coat pocket, a coat she supposedly never wore anymore because it was too heavy for her frail shoulders. The receipt was from Dandy's dance studio, dated 3 weeks earlier, for a senior ballroom dancing class. I stared at it for a long time, my nursing brain immediately connecting dots. The days she claimed her arthritis was too painful to get out of bed were the same days this dance class was held. The mornings she couldn't lift her arms high enough to wash her hair were followed by evenings when I'd notice her hair looked freshly styled. I should have confronted her immediately. Instead, I did what years of critical care nursing had taught me. I observed, documented, and gathered evidence before making a diagnosis. I checked her closet while she napped. Behind her sick clothes, the oversized cardigans and fleece pajama sets she wore when anyone was watching, I found active wear, dance shoes, and a gym bag. Inside the bag was a membership card to Silver Sneakers Fitness Center, a program for seniors I'd actually suggested to her 2 years earlier. She'd refused, saying her body couldn't handle that kind of stress. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, arranging the evidence like patient charts, receipts from calves on days she claimed she couldn't swallow solid food, a half-punched loyalty card from a smoothie shop near the dance studio, and a community center newsletter with her name listed as a new member of the Active Agers Social Club. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca, arriving Thursday night for Mom's birthday weekend. Samantha's planning a big surprise. Can you make sure Mom's up for it? I stared at the message, my stomach churning with a mixture of anger and grief. They didn't know. They saw Mother only during her performances of fragility. They didn't witness the daily manipulation, the guilt trips, the whispered, "I just don't want to die alone" comments that kept me tethered to this house year after year. I texted back, "She'll be ready. I'm preparing a special slideshow." Flashback 20 years ago. "You have such steady hands," my patient had said as I inserted her four. Such a gift for a nurse. I smiled, securing the line. My mother was a teacher. She always said patience was more important than steadiness. "She sounds wise," the elderly woman replied. "You must be close." I hesitated. "We have an understanding." The truth was more complicated. Mother and I had always maintained a careful distance. She preferred my sisters, the academic and the beauty. I was the practical one, the one who fixed things, solved problems, and never quite measured up to her expectations. "Will she be proud when you finish your master's degree?" the patient asked. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "She doesn't really understand why I need another degree at my age." I was 32 then, divorced for 3 years, rebuilding my life and advancing my career. Mother had called my return to school a waste of good years when you should be finding another husband. I never did finish that degree. Life intervened, first with more responsibilities at the hospital, then with Mother's declining health, or what I thought was declining health. Present day, the flash drive was my breaking point. I found it hidden inside a ballet slipper in a showbox at the back of her closet, labeled "My Real Life." The contents were stunning. Dozens of videos, all taken within the last year. Mother dancing, not just swaying gently but full ballroom spins and dips. Mother at a yoga class, doing poses I couldn't manage with my stiff knees. Mother laughing with friends at a restaurant, lifting a wine glass and toast. Mother walking a neighbor's dog, gardening, shopping. All on days when she had told me she couldn't get out of bed, couldn't feed herself, couldn't bear the pain of existence without my constant attention. The final video made my blood run cold. Mother was sitting with another woman, someone I didn't recognize, at what looked like a calf. "Doesn't Allison suspect anything?" the woman asked. Mother laughed, a sound I rarely heard at home. "Allie sees what she expects to see. She's so used to taking care of people, she doesn't question it anymore. Besides, what would she do if she didn't have me to worry about? She has no life of her own." "But aren't you worried she'll find out? Make other plans?" Mother's face hardened, an expression I recognized from my childhood whenever I disappointed her. "That's why I'm meeting with Judith tomorrow. Changing the will. Just in case Allie decides she's had enough. She needs to understand there are consequences to abandoning family." I shut the laptop, my hands shaking not with fear, but with rage. 5 years of my life. 5 years of declining professional opportunities, skipped conferences, ignored dating prospects. 5 years of changing sheets, administering medications, cooking special meals, all while she played the victim. And now she was planning to cut me out of her will because she feared I might discover her deception and leave. I picked up my phone and called the one person who might understand. "Michael? It's Allison." I need to talk. Michael's apartment, Michael Green's apartment, was exactly what you'd expect from a retired physician: meticulously organized medical journals on bookshelves, comfortable but practical furniture, and a view of the park where he jogged every morning. We'd been colleagues at Memorial Hospital before he retired early to care for his father. "Show me again," he said, his voice calm as we reviewed the videos for the third time. I watched his face as he studied the timestamps, the locations, the activities. His medical mind was doing what mine had already done, assessing the evidence and forming a diagnosis. "Well?" I asked when he finally looked up. "It's not dementia," he said, answering my unspoken fear. "This is too organized, too consistent. This is—" He hesitated. "Manipulation," I finished for him. "Psychological abuse." He nodded slowly. "What are you going to do?" I stared out his window at the park. A group of seniors was doing Tai Chi on the lawn, moving with purpose and dignity. I thought of all the patients I'd cared for over the years, people who truly needed help, who fought to maintain independence despite genuine limitations. "Her birthday party is this weekend," I said. "Samantha and Rebecca will both be there. So will Judith Watson, her lawyer." And I turned to face him. "I'm going to show them the truth." Michael studied me, concern etched on his face. We'd known each other for 15 years, had dated briefly before his wife's cancer diagnosis. He knew me well enough to read between the lines. "You're sure? Once you do this, your relationship with your mother will never be the same." I laughed, a brittle sound even to my own ears. "What relationship, Michael? The one where I surrender my life to care for someone who's been lying to me for years? The one where she threatens to disinherit me if I try to reclaim any independence?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled out a notebook and pen, a habit from his practicing days. "Let's think this through," he said. "What's your desired outcome?" It was such a physician question that I almost smiled. "Freedom," I said simply. "I want my life back. I want my sisters to know the truth. I want to stop feeling crazy for questioning things that don't add up." He nodded, making notes. "And after? Have you thought about what comes next?" I hadn't, not really. The future beyond the revelation was a blank page. "I don't know," I admitted. "Find a job, I guess. Get my own place. Start over at 52. You could return to nursing," he suggested. "After a 5-year gap? Who would hire me? The hospice center where I volunteer is desperately short-staffed. Your experience in palliative care would be invaluable." He looked up from his notes. "Just something to consider for the after." I nodded, suddenly overwhelmed by the prospect of an after. For 5 years, there had only been the endless present of caretaking. "One more question," Michael said, his voice gentler now. "Is this about justice or revenge?" I considered this carefully. "Both," I finally answered. "Is that wrong?" He shook his head. "It's human. Just remember, when you burn down the house, you don't get to sleep in it afterward." The day before the party, the slideshow was complete. I'd spent hours integrating the family photos my sisters had sent with clips from Mother's secret videos. The juxtaposition was jarring: Mother in a wheelchair looking frail and vulnerable in one image, then Mother dancing vigorously in the next, both with the same date stamp. I saved the final version to a flash drive and made copies. One I kept in my pocket, one I gave to Michael for safekeeping, and one I hid in the freezer behind the ice trays, a nurse's habit of always having backups. When I returned home, Mother was sitting in her wheelchair in the living room, a blanket across her lap despite the warm spring day. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice that perfect mix of fragility and accusation that had controlled me for years. "I needed my medication an hour ago." I checked my watch. "It's not due for another 2 hours, Eleanor." A flash of something annoyance? Fear crossed her face before she rearranged her features into a pained expression. "The pain is worse today. I can feel a flare coming on." In the past, I would have immediately checked her temperature, adjusted her medication schedule, perhaps called her doctor. Today, I simply nodded. "I'll get you some water," I said, walking to the kitchen. "By the way, Judith called. She'll be at the party tomorrow. I watched her reflection in the microwave door as I filled a glass with water. Her face changed, calculating. Oh, that's nice of her, Mother said carefully. Did she mention anything about our appointment last week? I turned, handing her the water. No, should she have? Mother took a small sip, her eyes never leaving my face. No, just some minor adjustments to the will. Nothing important. I see. I sat down across from her. You know, I've been thinking about the future lately. Have you? Her voice was cautious. Yes. I'm not getting any younger. I wonder sometimes what I'll do when. I let the sentence hang unfinished. When I'm gone, she supplied, her eyes suddenly damp. She reached for my hand. Oh, Allie, you don't need to worry about that. I've made sure you'll be taken care of. This house will be yours. The lies came so easily to her. According to the conversation I'd witnessed on video, she was planning to cut me out completely. That's very generous, I said, withdrawing my hand. But I was actually thinking about what I might do before that. It's been 5 years since I practiced nursing. I miss it sometimes. Her face hardened almost imperceptibly. But who would take care of me? You know how difficult it is for me to adjust to new people. It was just a thought, I said, standing up. I should start dinner. Samantha and Rebecca will be here tomorrow morning to help set up for the party. As I walked to the kitchen, I heard her call after me. Allie, you've always been my rock. I don't know what I'd do without you. I stopped, not turning around. You'd manage, I said, echoing words I'd spoken countless times before, but this time knowing exactly how true they were. The birthday break, the community center looked festive with balloon bouquets and floral arrangements, all organized by Samantha, who approached party planning with the same efficiency she brought to her marketing campaigns. Rebecca had handled the catering, ensuring Mother's dietary restrictions were accommodated. Mother arrived in her wheelchair, pushed by me, wearing a new dress Samantha had bought for the occasion. She looked appropriately frail and grateful as guests, mostly former colleagues and a few relatives, greeted her with gentle hugs and sympathetic smiles. You look wonderful, Eleanor, her friend Martha said. Allison must be taking excellent care of you. Mother patted my hand resting on the wheelchair handle. I don't know what I'd do without her. She's given up so much for me. I smiled tightly, feeling Michael's eyes on me from across the room. He'd arrived early to help set up the audiovisual equipment for the slideshow. He nodded slightly, a silent question. Are you sure? I nodded back. There was no turning back now. Samantha clinked a glass, calling for attention. Thank you all for coming to celebrate Mom's 78th birthday. As many of you know, the last few years haven't been easy for her health-wise, but she's faced every challenge with courage and grace. Rebecca joined her at the front. We've prepared a special slideshow to celebrate Mom's journey. Allison, who has been Mom's dedicated caregiver for the past 5 years, put this together for us. All eyes turned to me as I stood. Before we start, I'd like to say something. My voice was steadier than I expected. For 5 years, I've watched my mother struggle with her health. As a nurse, I've done everything I could to support her. Mother was looking at me with growing wariness. But recently, I've made some discoveries that have changed my understanding of the situation. I nodded to Michael, who pressed play on the laptop. The screen lit up with a family photo from Christmas 2 years ago, Mother in her wheelchair, looking frail, with the 3 of us daughters surrounding her. Then it cut to a video dated the same day, after my sisters had left and I'd gone to pick up prescriptions. Mother standing in the kitchen, preparing herself a sandwich, moving easily. A murmur went through the room. Samantha's mouth fell open. Rebecca gripped the back of a chair. The slideshow continued, contrasting images of Mother's supposed incapacity with evidence of her active, independent life. The most damning was the split screen showing Mother teaching her last class before retirement, lecturing about the importance of truth and integrity, alongside footage of her telling a friend how she manipulated me into staying. When the screen finally went dark, the silence in the room was absolute. Mother's face had gone pale, her hands clutching the arms of her wheelchair. I don't understand, she said, her voice a perfect tremolo of confusion. Where did those videos come from? They must be old, from before I got sick. The timestamps say otherwise, I replied calmly. It must be some kind of therapy program, she said, looking around desperately. My doctor suggested movement therapy, visualization. Which doctor? I asked. Dr. Harrison? Because I spoke with her yesterday. She hasn't seen you in person for over a year. You've been canceling appointments and requesting prescription refills by phone. Judith Watson, who had been standing near the door, stepped forward. Eleanor, don't say anything more. But it was too late. The damage was done. Rebecca approached Mother slowly. You've been lying? All this time? The wheelchair, the medications, the constant care? You don't understand, Mother said, her voice hardening. After your father died, you all left. Samantha with her career, you with your family. Only Allison stayed. Because you told us you were dying. Samantha shouted, her composure cracking. You told us you needed full-time care. I needed someone to stay. Mother shot back, suddenly standing from the wheelchair, proving my point more effectively than any video. I was alone. The collective gasp in the room was audible. You could have asked, I said quietly. You could have said you were lonely, that you needed company. Instead, you stole 5 years of my life through deception. Mother turned to me, her expression changing to one I recognized from childhood, the martyr's mask. I gave you purpose. What else were you doing with your life? Divorced, childless, just going through the motions at that hospital. The cruelty of her words hung in the air. Even those who might have sympathized with her loneliness shifted uncomfortably. Rebecca stepped between us. That's enough, Mother. She turned to me. Allie, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Samantha was staring at the wheelchair, then at Mother, standing perfectly steady without it. All those times I sent money for medical expenses, for treatments. I'll pay you back, Mother said quickly. That's not the point. Samantha rarely raised her voice, but now it echoed through the community center. You manipulated us all. You made me feel guilty for not visiting more often when you were perfectly capable of traveling to see me. Judith approached Mother. Eleanor, we need to talk. Privately. I watched as Judith led Mother away, noticing how easily Mother walked now that the pretense had fallen away. The guests began to disperse, murmuring among themselves. Michael appeared at my side. You okay? I nodded, feeling strangely empty. I thought I'd feel more. Something. Vindicated, maybe. But I just feel tired. Rebecca and Samantha approached, both looking shell-shocked. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Rebecca asked. Would you have believed me? I counted. Without the evidence? They exchanged glances, answering my question with their silence. What happens now? Samantha asked. I looked toward the door where Mother had exited with Judith. I don't know. But I know what I'm doing. I'm going home to pack my things. I can't stay there anymore. Where will you go? Rebecca asked. She can stay with me, Michael said, surprising me. I have a spare room. Until she figures out her next steps. Samantha nodded slowly. And Mother? She's clearly capable of caring for herself, I said. Or she can hire someone with all the money she saved for dance lessons and yoga classes. As we talked, the door opened and Judith returned, alone. Where's my mother? I asked. She left, Judith said, looking uncomfortable. She asked me to tell you she's going to stay with a friend for a few days. And you? Rebecca asked. Did you know about all this? Judith's professional composure cracked slightly. I had suspicions. But client confidentiality prevented me from... Save it, Samantha interrupted. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. As the three of us walked out together, I felt a weight lifting, not completely gone, but lighter than it had been in years. Epilogue is 6 months later. The hospice center's garden was in full bloom, roses climbing trellises and lavender scenting the air. I adjusted Mrs. Patel's blanket as she dozed in the sunshine. Your daughter's coming at 3, I reminded her gently when she opened her eyes. She's bringing those samosas you like. Mrs. Patel smiled. You're a good nurse, Allison. You understand what we need at the end. I patted her hand. Rest now. I'll be back to help you inside before she arrives. As I walked back toward the building, I saw Michael waiting by the entrance, two coffee cups in hand. Busy day? He asked, handing me one. The usual, I replied. Two new admissions, one discharge to home care. We sat on a bench overlooking the garden. In the 6 months since the revelation, my life had transformed. After staying with Michael for a few weeks, I'd found my own small apartment nearby. The hospice center had hired me part-time initially, then offered a full position when they saw my experience. Mother had eventually moved to Arizona, near an old college friend. She sent occasional emails, mostly surface-level updates without apology or acknowledgement of the past. I responded politely but briefly. Samantha and Rebecca had become more present in my life, our shared experience having forged a stronger bond. We spoke weekly now, and they both visited my new place. Heard from Eleanor? Michael asked, using Mother's first name as I'd asked everyone to do. Christmas card last week, I said. She's joined a theater group. He nodded. And how does that make you feel? I considered the question. Neutral. I hope she's happy, but it's not my responsibility anymore. And you? Are you happy? I looked around at the hospice center's peaceful grounds, at my sensible shoes and nurse's watch, at the man sitting beside me who had become more than a colleague, more than a friend. I'm content, I said truthfully. For the first time in years, I'm living my own life. Good, he said, taking my hand. That's all anyone can ask for at our age, isn't it? To live authentically on our own terms. It took me 52 years to figure that out, I said with a small laugh. Better late than never, he replied, squeezing my hand. As we sat there, I thought about what one of my patients had told me last week. The second half of life is when we finally become who we really are. At 52, I was finally discovering who that might be.